Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Curiosity Club for June. Today we have Isaac Forchie, who is the communication coordinator with CABTAL in Cameroon. And Isaac helped organize a workshop recently on photo and video filmmaking. So he's going to tell us some of the highlights of that. And I think this is going to be a really good session.
Thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate this invitation to share the lessons we learned from our workshop. So let me begin by bringing greetings from my family, Yvette, my wife, and then Eden, the boy, and Eliora, the girl. I told them I have this presentation and they asked me to greet the people who be listening to me. Thank you. And well, I think in 45 minutes, it can really be a challenge trying to communicate what we went through in 1 week. So my goal would be to simply distill the most practical lessons that transformed our team's approach to content creation and to show how another Bible translation organization can apply them. So practically that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And I hope that by the end, we should be able to understand the basic workflow of video production for ministry communication and to also identify common mistakes that reduce the quality of communication that we do via videos. And then to also see how we can apply simple storytelling principles to produce more engaging content. And then we have a lot of tools now, especially with artificial intelligence. So we see how we can improve our efficiency and quality using some of these tools. Now, let me give you a bit of introduction and a background to how this idea came about. Despite having a communication team in place, we realized that we often struggle to produce quality videos as our content was mostly spontaneous in nature and lacked professional storytelling and required significant efforts from our parts to get the results we got. So realizing this gap, CAPTAL invested in a capacity building workshop through a film making training as well as photography training. This was facilitated by a local studio in Yaoundé called Vanilla Boy Studios. And we went to the training with different expectations because we are at least three members of our team. And my area of strength is writing, though I do photos, I do videos, and I do video editing. I also do social media. One of my colleagues' area of strength is social media. The third colleague is very strong on sound. So we had different expectations as we went for the training. And so I'm going to try to share with you just some of the key lessons we took away from the workshop, which I think can be very useful for another Bible translation organization. And the first of these lessons is that great videos start before the camera is turned on. Many communication teams focus on filming, and I've found myself in this setting before where I jump on taking videos and photos, and it's at the end I think about what I need to do with this, which is not the right approach. For us to get the best content, we must conceive and think about this before we even put on a camera. So what do we think about? We think about defining the communication objective. Like if I want to shoot a video, what is the purpose of that video? What is motivating me to shoot that video? That kind of defines a lot what you're going to be doing when you begin shooting the video. And they also identify the target audience, like who is going to be listening to this video. Is it for the public? Is it for funders? Is it for churches? Is it for a specific language community? So if we define the audience well, that will help us craft it and create the video in a way that it will be more impactful. And then we also think about the message. So as we go to shoot this video, what is the main idea or the message we want to drive through? So what action do we want those who are watching this video to take? If we have that message clear, it helps a lot, and it will help us to be able to clearly design our video even before we begin shooting. So this helps us to develop a clear story and also write the script well, and then do the storyboarding in a way that helps us to shoot in the field. Storyboarding, I know most of us here are familiar with. It's about drawing kind of frames of pictures of how you want the video to look like. Maybe I get to the community. The first shot might be a wide angle shot of the community, and then I get a close-up of the person I want to interview who will be telling the story. That would be very helpful. And when we apply the storytelling model, we would shift from just reporting activities, but telling stories how life have been transformed. For instance, I just came back from the north where we dedicated a complete Bible in the Mufugudu language. And instead of just reporting that the Bible has been dedicated in the Mufugudu language, the story might rather be, for the first time, a Mufu lady named X or Y has been able to read a verse in Psalms for the first time. I think that will be more impactful. Lesson number 2, storytelling is more important than equipment. It is easy to think that you can get the best photos and videos only if you have sophisticated equipment. Equipment are important, no doubt, but if we have the best approach to storytelling, we can get better stories, even if we don't have very sophisticated equipment. So first, in NGO communication or like ministry communication, like the case of CABTAL, it's always good to define what the situation was at the beginning. For instance, the Mufugudu people had just the New Testament and they did not have the complete counsel of God. They didn't have the entire word of God. So the beauty of the Psalms and Proverbs, they couldn't have access to it. That's the situation. And then what happened? There was an intervention. For instance, CAPTAL mobilized with its partners, got into the community, trained translators, trained literacy people, trained scripture engagement workers, and together they were able to translate the complete Bible. And it's been dedicated that for the first time, people can now read a book of Psalms, for instance, and the entire books of the Old Testament. So that's the situation, then the intervention, and then what happened afterwards. Probably report people now have access to the Bible. And we also can look up to what does it mean now as people have access to the Bible? Are they stories of testimonies of lives transformed, which we can record to complete a story? So, indicating that if we are able to tell the stories well, thinking about what the situation was before and what the intervention was, what that intervention resulted to, we'll be able to get very good stories. Some of the key lessons I got that I think can help us capture better footage. It's about how we manage the lighting we use. During the training, we learned that an image or a video is simply a recording of how light hits an object at a given moment. So how well we manage the lighting, determines the image we get. And usually we would have two sources of light that we can use, either natural light or the artificial light. The natural light is the one we get from the sunlight, and artificial lighting can be maybe lamps that we might use. And one key lesson we learned during the training was to always try as much as possible to have the lighting at 45 degrees when we shoot. So your light should never be directly on the face of the object we are shooting. And it should not also be directly behind. If the light is in front, let it be falling from a 45 degrees angle. And that way you can have a very good image. And if it happens that you have no other choice but to shoot with your object backing the light, you are advised to use a reflector to send some of the light back to the object's face to be able to have a good image. And a golden rule we learned about this lighting is that to get a good photo, a good video shoot, it depends 60% on how well we use our light and 25% on the equipment we have and 15% on the editing we can do afterwards. So this means that lighting is very crucial to the kind of image we get. And very quickly, let me talk about mastering the camera, know your camera. There are three key things that play when we take a photo with a camera or when we do videos. There is the aperture, there is the ISO, which is the lighting, and then the shutter speed. The aperture is about how wide or small the lens opens for light to get into the camera for it to be recorded. And when we get a small aperture, which usually is actually recorded with a higher number, it's usually recorded in f-stops. So the higher the number, the smaller the aperture is. And in that case, you will get a very deep depth of field, meaning it's good for snapping environments, maybe a yard or a crowd of people is best. Now, so when you increase the aperture, you get a very shallow depth of field, meaning there's more light getting into the camera, and this is good for portraits where you want the background to be very blurred and the object closer to you to be very sharp. And then about the ISO, it is about the lighting, the light sensor, which determines how much light gets into the camera. I think it's natural. If the light is high, you get a brighter image. If it is low, the image is less brighter. But now, when we increase our ISO, much light gets into the camera, but the quality of the photo reduces. It looks like grains. Like you can see the two photos here. This is with a low ISO, and then you can interplay on the aperture and shutter speed to get a clear image. And then to the right, if you increase the ISO, then if much light gets into the camera, but now you get grainy images. And then the shutter speed is mostly about how fast the lens opens and closes to get a shot. And it's usually controlled when you have to, usually measured in a quarter of a fraction, in a quarter of a second. So the shorter the exposure, which means less light gets into the camera, you get a sharper image like we get in the first image here. And then the longer the exposure, you can get blurred images. So if you are shooting a sporting activity, the best thing is to increase the shutter speed to have the image clear. But you might intentionally still set your camera to get blurry images on a tripod if you really want to get those for artistic reasons. Now, lesson number 3 we got, we can capture better footage with simple techniques. Now, in the slides that follow, I want to show you some of the techniques we can capture better images. We can think about the composition, which is how we frame the image that appears on the camera. And I think we all know about the rule of thirds, where the screen is divided into 3 sections from top to bottom, and then from the left to the right. If you want your image on the center, you position it on the third square. If you want it by the side, make sure it's on the third square, the square moving bottom to top. And when we make good use of this, we are able to get images that speak. And then it's always good to avoid cluttered backgrounds. Like if it's possible to move your object to a place where you think you now have distractions in the background, it is often better. And then keep subjects well positioned. It's a golden rule that helps us get good images. And then the next thing, you can think of get a variety of shots. It can be boring for someone to watch a video of 5 minutes with just one shot. So think about getting a variety of shots. You could get wide angle shots. You can get medium shots. You can get close-ups. And you play with these when you do your editing. And then it's also good to get action shots. Like if you're shooting a translation team, an image of them on the translation bench is always very powerful. And then we can also do cutaways like B-rolls, images that are not directly linked to what you are recording, but that can serve as an illustration. That when your subject is talking on the screen, you can have these on the screen to complement what they are seeing. The next tip is about audio. Now, people can easily forgive imperfect video faster than they would forgive a poor sound. So it's good to use microphones whenever it's possible, rather than trying to depend on the inbuilt microphone on the camera. And then it is always good to control the audio while recording. In other words, having a earpods plugged to the camera for you to control the sound while recording is the best practice. I fell into this trap once when the Mogamo New Testament was being dedicated here in Yaoundé. I went to cover it. I tested my mic very well just before the interview, and it was working. And then I hit record to record the interviews, testimonies from the translators. And somehow the battery died. And I had clean, good images, but no sound. And that can be very, very challenging. So another thing we can do is to always reduce background noise as much as it is possible, either by moving away from the source of the noise, or if it is something that we can control, maybe a generator, maybe a car that is steaming, you can ask the person to shut down the noise for the time that you are recording. If not, we can just move away. Sometimes you can be caught between, yeah, in a certain way, there's nothing you can do about the noise. You cannot move away and you cannot turn the noise off. I experienced this when I recorded the translation consultants in training in Yaoundé during a training that was organized by the Wycliffe Africa area. The hotel was running on a generator, and just in front of the hotel was a very busy market. So the only calm place I could shoot the video was behind, and that's where the generator was placed. The only option I had was to try to move far away from the generator, and I got what I got, though the sound of the generator sound still got into the recording. But as much as it is possible, it is best to reduce background noise. And then the last thing, we can monitor our audio before leaving a location. Like after doing a recording, the best thing is to just play it back to yourself, test it to be sure that it's actually working, than to just record and then you fold your equipment and leave, just to go back, travel maybe miles, and then realize that you had just the image but not audio. And then the fourth lesson we took from the workshop is that AI is becoming an essential communication assistant. And to be able to make good use of it, we can prompt effectively, and AI will help us to either do scripts, can help us to do a shooting list, can help us to do just whatever we want to do as far as the video is concerned. But prompting is very crucial. One of the key prompts I got during the training, which I think have been very helpful when I do videos, is like something like this. Imagine you are a communications officer and content producer for a Bible translation organization and you want to produce a 5-minute video of the impact of the complete Bible recently dedicated in Mufugudu language. And then you define the audience. It's a Cameroonian audience. You can also say maybe you want it to reach donors, other Bible translation organizations. And then instead of just asking the AI chatbot you're using to generate the script or short list, you ask it to ask you every question it can ask, one after the other, to be sure it clearly understands what you want. And then you ask it to generate a script. And we saw what it did, and it was so amazing. From the script, we'll be able to generate a short list, like when I get to produce this kind of video, what kind of videos should I look out for? What kind of images should I look out for? And it can also help us to get the interview questions based on the information you have given, based on the audience you have identified, the message you have communicated to the AI you're using, and the guidelines you have given for the kind of script to be developed. It can generate these things and they will be very, very useful. AI can also help in doing transcriptions. Like if you have videos or audio recordings, you can transcribe them if you want them in the other language or you just want the written forms. And then we can also use AI to do subtitling and then translation support and then social media caption creation. The next thing I want to share is about how we can edit the content we produce, having the audience in mind, which was one key lesson we got. When we shoot and then we are back on the editing bench, we need to be able to cut as much as it is possible using just what is essential, removing every unnecessary footage. It is advisable to always start with a very strong scene because the stronger the scene is at the beginning, the more the chances are that people will watch the video to the end. And then it is advisable to keep videos very concise. And then add subtitles. And then when you want to export, it is good to always optimize and choose if you are doing a video for social media, you're doing it for YouTube, are you doing it for a website, are you doing it for Facebook or Instagram? There are specifications that you can find out and get more and know how to export a video that matches that specific setting. Now, to conclude, when we want to produce any video, we need to create a sample video planning template even before we do the shooting. And then we need to tell stories of transformation rather than reporting activities. The Bible has been dedicated in this language. Yes, so what? If we go beyond that and we are telling stories of the impact, it's more transformative. And then use artificial intelligence tools to reduce production time and improve efficiency. The best thing is to tell authentic stories and to communicate transformation in ways that inspire action. It is about understanding people, telling stories that are real, and communicating transformation rather than just activities, and clearly stating the action we want our viewers to take. So our challenge is learning how to tell these good stories well. I want to end with this last slide to showing you a video we got before the training and another video we shot after the training. I'm sorry, they are all in French.
Ce que je vois maintenant, que ce soit un petit enfant, que ce soit une vieillarde, que ce soit un vieux, sera vraiment éclairé parce que la parole est décrite terre en terre et clairement. Et en lisant, ou bien en écoutant la lecture, je suis convaincu que tous mes frères, tous mes papas, tous mes mamans, tous mes soeurs seront vraiment édifiés et leurs vies seront changées. Non seulement ma vie a changé dans la compréhension claire vraiment à ma langue. Parce qu'en lisant et en écrivant, cela m'a vraiment beaucoup arrangé à connaître quelle est la volonté de Dieu. Et moi-même en particulier, j'ai beaucoup bénéficié. Vraiment dit, je peux parler clairement ma langue, je peux exprimer même comment expliquer bien à ma langue, écrire lisiblement ma langue. Et c'est ce qui m'a vraiment beaucoup motivé en ce qui concerne la littérature à ma langue.
Aujourd'hui, samedi 7 décembre 2024, au nom de tous les conseillers et tous les canons d'orthodoxie,
je peux vraiment faire une lettre, que ça soit une lettre. Mais non seulement ce qui m'a changé, là je peux devenir son enfant. Et j'ai cru, parce que c'est en lisant, c'est à ce moment-là que j'ai vu que vraiment ma vie a tellement changé. Parce qu'avant, si j'ai commencé à expliquer, ma vie passée c'est horrible. Et je vis vraiment à travers ces paroles que j'ai lues à ma langue, cela m'a amené vraiment à mener une vie que actuellement je ne suis plus la même personne.
C'est Dieu qui parle directement. Parce que quand ça vient de ma langue, je n'ai plus besoin de secours.
Je remercie d'abord l'alphabétisation parce qu'à travers l'alphabétisation, mes apprenants, il y a les gens qui prient bien. Ceux qui étaient un peu timides, elles sont devenues très vaillantes à travers l'alphabétisation. Et ceux qui négligeaient, ceux qui ne savaient pas qu'ils pouvaient encore tenir le bic, ils ont encore pu tenir le bic jusqu'à... Ils écrivent, ils ont des cahiers. Les mamans qui pensaient déjà être fatiguées au point de ne plus rien faire, qu'ils écrivent encore au tableau, ça leur donne la joie.
Je suis traditionnaliste. Bon, quand je suis entré dans la tradition de la Bible, beaucoup même de mes parents ou bien de mes propres frères qui ne connaissaient pas ce que c'est qui disaient surtout que Dieu n'existe pas. Donc, ils acceptent, ils croient. Ils croient vraiment. Quand je leur parle en Mengambo, et surtout de la Bible, ils comprennent. La parole de Dieu en langue Mengambo, pour moi maintenant, là, c'est le moi-même. Le moi-même, ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire que actuellement, là, quand je veux parler de la parole de Dieu en ma langue, je n'ai plus besoin à vouloir chercher quoi que ce soit. Je sais que j'éprouve quand ça vient de moi, là, je le dis en ma langue, c'est comme une ouverture. C'est comme si c'est Dieu qui parlait en moi.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's the video. Those are the two videos. And so I think to end, the greatest lesson our training was that impactful communication is not primarily about cameras or software, but about how well we understand people, how well we tell the story. There might be questions and comments. I know that there are a lot of people on this call who do professional videos, and so we can have more interaction on that.
Thanks, Isaac. Yeah, great. If anyone has questions or comments, please unmute yourself first, and we can have a conversation here for a few minutes.
Mine is a request. Hi, everybody that I haven't seen when I joined in. Isaac, mine is maybe a request. When is the next workshop? And how does one get in the invitation list?
Okay, you mean the next workshop at CABTAL, the communications training?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. It wasn't a regular workshop that we organize. I think since 2020, this is the first that we organized. And looking into the future, we don't have one that is planned yet. But as much as the needs show, we can be able to plan this.
We do have plans to, we are in the process, in fact, of creating a story reporting workshop or a course that'll probably be available in September. So there will be a video element to that for sure. So that's coming up from the Alliance. But yeah, Isaac, if you have more live workshops, I know there'll be wide interest in that. You had some shots in the videos that looked like they were aerial shots, Isaac. Were those drones?
Yes, yes, there were drone shots. So I actually have a drone that I usually fly to get aerial shots, like just to be able to multiply the shot angles, like I mentioned in the presentation, to have a variety of shots. For each dedication that I cover, I try as much as possible to get a shot from the drone to see the community from that perspective.
Yeah, that opens a whole new realm of possibilities, doesn't it? To shoot a whole village or something at once. That's really interesting.
Exactly, it does, because with a camera that you hold in your hand, even if you climb on a story building, there's a certain height you cannot get. So with the drone, you have a possibility to go right high and go far and zoom into objects or places in a community that otherwise you might not be able to go there yourself. I remember when we went we're traveling for the Bakoko dedication in Douala, we had an issue with a car at some point while the driver was getting that sorted. I flew the drone and I got an amazing shot of the forest, beautiful with the trees, and then at some point in the middle, we could see a plantain farm, and it all together it looked like a flower. and I really found it amazing. So with a drone, you have an opening to do shots that are amazing, and you will not imagine if you only have to deal with a handheld camera.
Question from, is it Hiwat?
Hi, yes, this is Hiwat from Wycliffe, Ethiopia. I was very impressed with the first slide that says like it's great to have a video start before even like the camera is turned on. It just come to my mind that sometimes it's very hard, to produce a video or anything that is going to be applied for our communication when we find it from our archive, you know, and there is videos and pictures, but which we didn't use, and trying to make something out of that, sometimes it's a little bit like difficult because it might not come to a sense of like to communicate with the audience, with the right audience, and bringing something useful from that is a little bit difficult. So the point that you said, like it's better to think the story and the audience before we even turn our camera on it is a good point. I just want to say this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Howard. I think you're just right. If you find yourself in an event where you're taking photos and videos, and you might think that you have taken the best until you come back to think about what you can get from those videos, from those photos. And then if you finally get an idea, you find yourself in a situation you say, oh, I wish I thought about this earlier. I would have taken this other shot. I would have taken that other shot. Whereas if we really conceive it from the beginning to
Yeah.
the end, before we go to the field, we define the shots we want, and we can actually have a shot list. Like I want a close-up shot of this, a wide angle shot of this, an area shot of this community. You can define all of those in advance so that if you go to the community, now you will not keep yourself in a box to think only about this. You know that this is your primary story you're shooting. And if something, you find some other thing that's interesting, you not let it go because you came just for this other one. So you still shoot, and you can be able to explore that afterwards. Thank you. I think I really appreciate your contribution, Hewart. Thanks a lot.
I was wondering what kind of camera you used and if you have used handphone cameras before for your shots.
Yes. This phone I have, some of the videos you saw on the second video, we actually shot with this phone. It's a normal Android phone that has a good camera. I also have a Canon camera, which is not the best, it's not very sophisticated, but I'm able to get at least what I want from those. So good equipment it's very necessary, it's important. But if we have great ideas, we have good ideas, we can be able to still produce and get these through with even the telephone.
You mentioned, Isaac, the importance of audio, and I think those on the call who shoot video would say too, better to shoot with a phone and have good audio than to have great video and bad audio. So if you have a limited amount of money you can spend, it's almost better to use phones for shooting and then get a decent microphone or something. Gary, you might have something to say about that too, but would you agree?
Sure. There's various lavalier microphones that you can just clip on that do a really good job. Yeah. So I was going to compliment Isaac on the job that he's done. Thank you for sharing. And just a few extra little thoughts also on sound. A thing that I learned early on was that, as you described, when you were shooting with a noise out the front of the building and a generator out the back, so sometimes it's really hard to get a nice quiet place. But a little trick of the mind sometimes, like for example, I've been in a village and I've had to film near a river or a stream. And like it wasn't overbearing, but it was there. And in your mind, you're thinking, if you're watching the video, what is that noise? So if you include a shot of, this is a stream nearby, then it registers in the mind. In some ways, it cancels out that noise because you know what it is. You can identify it. And then another thing tying in with AI, recently when I was in Papua New Guinea, I had a less than ideal setup where I could interview the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea just on my phone, and there was quite a bit of background noise. And so I actually found using AI did actually a reasonable job of removing a lot of the background noise. So there's actually commercial tools out there. Adobe have various things, and there's other programs. But yeah, even AI can do a reasonable job to help get rid of that background sound. But ideally, you don't have it from the beginning. But the reality is you'll have to deal with it sometimes.
Isaac, you mentioned using AI to kind of help form your scripts and those sorts of things. What AI tools do you use?
I use ChatGPT and I also use Gemini. But for when I want to prompt to get a script, to get a short list, and to get kind of the storyboard, I prefer using Gemini, it has proven to be more efficient to me.
Mm.
And yes, even when I get what it gives me, I still work on it to perfect it, get it down to what I want. So ChatGPT and Gemini have served me as far as this is concerned.
And Gemini is a Google product, correct?
Right,
So
right. If you have a Google account,
accessible.
then you have Gemini and you can freely use it. But with ChatGPT, you are limited if you're using a free account.
Yeah, that's a good thought, though, to try different AI tools because there are so many good free ones, or you can get trial versions or something. So you can do this with relatively low cost or no cost sometimes. The other thing I noticed, Isaac, in your second video was how much better it was because you found the people who were living the story or who were impacted by the story versus people talking about those people in the first one. So we're all inclined to film an event or something and make that the story, but I really liked how you de-emphasized the events and went to the people that are being impacted by scripture, and
Yes.
that's such a huge good point to make. So thanks for that.
You're welcome, Jim. I'm happy you caught that, though it was all in French. The first video, we shot it at a dedication, and we could not have access to the people the person was talking about.
Yeah.
And then the second video, we actually traveled to the community and had the translators on the bench translating, and we got those images. And then the literacy supervisor was talking about how he offered a piece of land for a literacy center to be built. We actually went to the piece of land and we saw him there. We went to his house, shot him and his family. I think it's more pertinent and more impactful when you record first-hand stories
Yeah.
rather than others talking about those stories.
And it's also more work, but
Exactly.
you get such a better result it's just a remarkable difference there. We have time for about one more question if anyone has anything. Yeah, Helen.
Okay, mine is not more of a question, it's more of I don't know how much of ours as communication team we actually have explored the Canva Pro actually, because I find there is really a lot of apps that you can find on Canva, especially when it comes to noise enhancements or maybe background enhancements or just picture or video enhancement itself. And as a nonprofit organization, I think it will be actually very good if you can just register your nonprofit organizations to be able to access those pro Canva apps that are in there, which are really, really good. Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. Every morning you wake up, there's something new. So
Yeah.
you spend almost every day trying to learn something new, but it's very exciting. So yeah, I was just wanting to just encourage and say there's really a lot of apps that if you take your time and just go through Canva Pro, you would really they'll be very helpful.
Thanks. Yeah,
Thank you.
Canva has transformed incredibly in the last couple of years, and even in this past few months. There's so much more that it does now at a reduced cost from if you're trying to use Adobe products or something. So if budget is a consideration, and it is for all of us, yeah, do think about Canva and take a look at what it offers.
Oh, it's free actually for nonprofit organization.
Oh,
You
right.
just
Okay.
register, so it's you
Yes.
don't have to pay. It's free.
I see a hand up from Zoom user. I'm not sure who that is, but go ahead.
Um, that's me. I'm Sarah from Wycliffe, India.
Oh, hi, Sarah.
Sorry, I can't turn my video on right now. If I may ask a question, thank you, Isaac, for taking us through this presentation. It was very insightful. I just wanted to check if we have some standard consent protocols while filming beneficiaries, if there's something in place that we could also use alliance-wide.
All right, we are about at time here. So if you do have more questions for Isaac, please feel free to send those along to him, or you can just send them to us at info@wycliffe.net, and we can pass those along too. Maybe that's the easiest way on that. But thanks everybody for attending. We'll do this again next month. We try to do these curiosity clubs each month. And if you have ideas for sessions or topics, let us know. Isaac, thank you again. You did a wonderful job. Thanks everyone for attending, and we will see you next time.